Hello and welcome to another video from Writers for Writers at Libertad Communications. In our last video about editing farms and their scams, we mentioned in passing the fact that these literary shysters tend to use editing terms interchangeably and how that hides the fact that people are paying out a lot of money to have their work edited at the wrong time and in the wrong way. Many of you have reached out to us to ask for more information on that, and you've given us some of your editing horror stories, which we really appreciate, by the way. And to tell you the truth, we didn't realise just how deep the rabbit hole went. So I will include some of those horror stories at the end of the video by way of a warning. You see, the sad truth is that writing is such a solitary occupation, and by its nature deeply personal. No one in the world feels more alone and vulnerable than an author who submits his work for editing. And these editing farms know that, bastards that they are. And so in today's video, we will give you more information on the editing process. We'll go through the editing process step by step by using my first novel as an example, so you can see for yourself just how misleading these editing farms really are, and we'll give you the ammunition that you need to protect your work, keep your dignity, and avoid throwing your money away. But first, a bit of background, just in case you didn't see the last video. As the traditional print industry began to die in the 1990s, the editing staff were the first ones to be thrown overboard. Unfortunately, it wasn't just the editors that we lost. We also lost their skills, their knowledge. And I want you to hold on to that idea. Since the end of the Second World War, nearly all Western countries have lost many skilled trades like goldsmiths, shoemakers, tailors, so that today, if you want handmade jewellery, shoes or clothes, you have to go to the third world. In the West, we no longer have these skills. Somewhat ironically, the same revolution in printing technology that killed the print trade accidentally gave birth in 2010 to the self-publishing industry, which flooded the market with lots of people who were willing to pay to see their work in print, which naturally created a huge demand for editing skills just at a time when the real editors had become extinct. However, as it turned out, strangely enough, what we did have was a lot of overeducated people with useless degrees. Why? Because back in the 90s, Western governments had discouraged young people from going to the skilled trades and encouraged everyone to get a degree. In Scotland, the British government even gave higher education away for free. It didn't matter what degree you got, as long as you could say you had a degree or even a PhD, even better. And so today, if you Google the search string list of most useless degrees, you'll find, among others, subjects like sociology, art history, communications, computer science, creative writing, and advertising. And then, coincidentally, if you then go to the websites of the editing and proofreading farms, let's just call them EPR, editing and proofreading farms, EPR farms. I'm sick of repeating myself. But anyway, so go to these websites, the EPR farm websites, and look at the editor bios, and you'll find most of the editors have PhDs in many of these useless subjects. In short, the editing and proofreading business is where a lot of these millennials with useless degrees went to die. They filled the self-publishing demand for editing services, well, after a fashion. So why is this important, I hear you ask?
Post.
Happy boy.
Well, what this sad history means is that it should be absolutely no surprise to anyone that most of the EPR farms haven't got a clue about the technical jargon of the printing business. In fact, they tend to use editing terms, as I pointed out, interchangeably. Hence, we get editing and proofreading put together as if they were the same thing. What difference does it make in real terms to ordinary authors and writers? Well, first of all, you have to understand that what edit your work needs depends on what draft it's at. For the sake of this discussion, I'll assume that we're talking about a manuscript for a book, a work of fiction. However, these rules do apply to non-fiction and, broadly speaking, to the technical and academic writing industries as well. If you cut out the bullshit, there are just 4 stages to editing. 1. Concept editing is for your first draft. 2. Structural editing is for your construction drafts, which we'll go over in a moment, looking at my own first novel. 3. Line editing is for your final, absolute final draft, whichever draft that might be. So sometimes it's draft 3, some draft 4, and in my case, draft 1,500,000. And 4, when your final manuscript is laid out for publishing, we do a proof edit to make sure that it's fit to print. So they're the 4. So let's discuss the first edit, the concept edit, by using my first historical fiction novel, The Last Letters of Jesus, as an example. First drafts usually turn the arc of your concept, your initial idea, into provisional chapters. Your characters should be, by this time, they should have their own life. We had the first draft of Last Letters edited, but it was a total waste of time. By the time we got the damn thing back, we'd already cut redundant chapters out and rearranged the work, so that was a total waste of time and money. We later enlisted the help of 2 beta readers, which was genius because they were both brilliant. Coming from a technical writing background, I set up a questionnaire for each chapter, which gave us enough information to rewrite the manuscript for drafts 2 and, as it turned out, 3. We submitted revision 3 of draft 3 to the same beta readers, and slowly, by about revision 10, the book was ready, sort of, for a structural edit. The edit was limited to just the chapter structure of the work. It purposely didn't include spelling and grammar, as so much of the book of a paragraph structure might be changed. This saved us a fortune, by the way. By the time we got to the structural edit back, we'd already decided to rewrite the book to draft 4 anyway. Eventually, when we got to the point where we would rather die than look at the bloody book again, it was almost ready for line edit at about revision 20 of draft 4. After making the corrections from the line edit, we eventually published to print in hardback and to paperback, and of course both of those had to be laid out individually and each proof edited before submission. We also published to ebook as EPUB and Mobi, but both of these obviously had to be laid out differently and both individually proof edited prior to constructions. So the reason I'm explaining this to you is that a lot of people seem to submit their work to an editor long before it's ever ready. And I wanted to stress the stages in the process of revisions and drafts. And this is definitely true of the technical and academic industry as well as ordinary novel writing, or even non-fiction book writing. So you can see that it would have been a total waste of time and money to have done a line edit on the first draft, and it is physically impossible to do a proof edit on a final draft before the line edit, because you can't proof edit prior to doing a line edit, if you understand me. So bearing the 4 stages of edit in mind, let's have a look at some of the experiences that people have had with some of the most popular EPR farms. Bear in mind that these poor devils have trusted their creativity and money and time to these scammers, so don't let yourself get added to the list. If you have a look at this example, the writer's complaints are extremely common, as you'll see in a moment. He was charged, poor devil, £4,792 for a line edit on a 90,000 word novel. In this email, you can see that the correspondence from the EPR farm is itself illiterate and, to be honest, suggests a non-native English speaker. That is also very common, even from literary agents and publishers. I don't think I've ever had any correspondence from a literary agent that wasn't written by an ignoramus that was obviously illiterate themselves and not very bright. Notice that in both examples, and this is really important, they notice that in both examples, any refund they give is entirely dependent on you withdrawing a bad review, which is how these shysters managed to get so many good reviews, because all of the bad reviews have been removed. Now, most of these EPR farms have, to be fair, very good websites, and on those websites they offer samples of their editing, which is absolutely brilliant. We've gone through those samples and nearly all of them offer examples of text that have been subjected to a line edit. But if you look at the original text, they were only at first draft standard and nowhere near ready for a line edit. Now, if you look at the first paragraph, which we've highlighted here, you'll see what I mean. Even after their line edit, the text is still nowhere near ready for publication. Now, their accept all changes document is in many ways worse than the original text. In this case, we would have advised the author to consider the difference in the use of formal and informal language, also to consider the use of contractions in informal dialogue. Another big point would be the use of passive and active voice to give the work depth. We would also have suggested that the author tries to find the time to read more well-written fiction, as his vocabulary suggests that he only reads newspapers. Now, this particular case should have been subjected to just a beta reader at a fraction of the cost of this useless line edit. Now, this begs the question, either the samples are real text and those individual clients, poor devils that they are, were scammed, or they are fabricated samples and these shysters are trying to scam us all. Now, in writing the script for this video, which is a bit long and for which I apologise, but this is really important, I was only intending to suggest a system of editing that might help our clients and explain how we do it at Libertad Communications after so many years in the industry. But in researching the phenomena of the EPR farms, I've decided to declare war because these bastards should be exposed. Now, to be fair, I'm sure that there must be some good people working at these companies, and if you found that to be the case, I wish you joy of them. Good for you. But to the rest, the Philomenas and the Farquhars out there calling themselves editors based only on their higher education, we're here to tell you that the peer review system is broken, and we at Libertad Communications don't give a fig for your qualifications. We don't care about your PhDs or your prestigious degrees because the whole academic system is broken. Everyone with a technical academic background knows that the peer review system is broken, and a PhD just means that you've got a jolly good memory, and good for you if you do. The academic system takes good young people and encourages them to abandon independent thought and their own integrity. In short, universities are factories designed to produce sycophants and lickspills. The only thing that matters to us is your ability to write and the stories you tell. Other than that, to all of these would-be authors, stop calling yourself an editor based on your education and go and have another gap year, or better yet, feck off and sell timeshares, because that's really all you're good for. And to make our point, every week now, until it stops being fun, we're going to take one of your samples and we're going to fix it on video for free to expose you for what you are, shysters. Stop ripping good people off. And if you're one of the victims, don't forget to let us know in the comments. If you want to see how editing should be done, don't forget to like and subscribe. Go to our website for more information. And if you do have work that you want looked at, get in touch with us for a free 15-minute video chat to discuss your work. One thing I can guarantee is Writers for Writers will not rip you off. Until next time, be well.
Happy boy.
Morning, Paul. Hello, Maisie. Hello, Hildy. How are you? Tell me, is the Lord of the Universe in? Yes, he's in a bad humor. Somebody must have